This Chat with the Expert is brought to you by Angie's List on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List. We are out in the garage today with Fritz Klooz of Innovative Garages. We're talking all about organization, floor coatings, and a whole lot more. And we're going to take some listener questions and get you some feedback here in just a bit, straight from Mr. Klooz. But before we do that, we're going to share some tips and tricks in our segment that we call What's Trending. And we've talked about ways that you can begin to get your garage under control if organization maybe isn't your strong suit, if you're like me. There are a number of ways to get things lined up. And Angie's List Chicago writer Shannon Antonori explored the subject a little bit further recently and found some helpful information about pricing in an article titled How Much Do Garage Storage Systems Cost? So we're going to take a look and see what she found out. And as we learned earlier, there's an array of options out there to get your garage organized, and the right storage system for the project depends on your lifestyle and your hobbies. And whether you're into gardening or sports and crafts, a good organization system is going to store your items neatly by utilizing cabinets, drawers, workbenches, and even some overhead storage. We talked about some of those options earlier in the show, whether they be manual or even some automatic above head storage. Now, if you go the DIY route, you can purchase garage shelving units or wall shelving for around $50 from most retailers, and larger shelving systems are going to start around $200. Something simple like maybe a garage storage hook is going to cost between $10 and $20 at the hardware store. However, if you're going to go with a custom storage system from a pro, it's going to cost a bit more, but it can also boost the value of your home when it comes time to sell. One provider Shannon talked with said that simple shelving projects can cost around $1,200 to $1,500. And if you want to go all out for the man cave concept, complete with epoxy floors, cabinets, and work areas, you could be looking at somewhere around $3,000 to $5,000 for the entire project. And if you're really in the mood for an entire garage renovation, you could be looking at as much as $30,000. And Fritz talked about that earlier. That's some major garage renovation going on if you go that route. So talk with your design pro and discuss exactly what you're looking for and what you want out of your garage. And from there, you can work on putting together a system that's right for you and, of course, also for your hobbies. For more information on this subject, you can read Shannon's full article at angieslist.com/articles, along with a number of other helpful pieces on the subject. All right. That's it for What's Trending today. And now it is time for the part of the show where we take your listener questions and get you some answers from our guest. It's called Consumers Ask. And today we took questions from Twitter, Facebook, and our online Angie's List Answers forum. And we're going to rely on the expertise of Fritz Klooz to get some answers. Are you ready to go?
Sure.
All right, let's start off with a question from Spencer. He wants to know if there are any options for organizing tools or toolboxes. He says he's got quite the collection of tools laying around.
There are. We have toolbox organizers, actually, wrench organizers, screwdriver organizers, or just trays for hardware. So there are a lot of different options to organize the inside of the toolbox. Yes.
Yeah, I'd imagine that's a project that applies to a lot of the jobs you do. And I even in my head, I remember my dad always saying, go grab a Phillips head screwdriver. Well, it's a garage full. I'm going through toolbox, trying to find what I'm looking for. That would be something that would be quite handy for a lot of folks, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Philip is asking if there are any unique garage accessories out there that he should consider. Have you seen any cool products recently that fit within the garage?
We do. We have like a wall-mounted vacuum system that I think is kind of a neat accessory for any garage to vacuum out your car or just vacuum up the floor in the garage. It actually has a hose that's like 8 foot long, but it'll stretch out to 40 feet and then shrinks back up when you let go of it, so you don't have to wind up 40 feet. There's cord reels that you can mount to the wall and wind up the cords, so just a lot of different kind of neat little gadgets for your garage.
Something I was wondering about is, let's say that I've bought maybe a wall-mounted shop vac or, or I've bought some cabinet systems. Can I have Innovative Garages come out and set that up for me, or do they have to be products from you? No,
we get customers that buy things, and then maybe they've sat for 6 months and they haven't put them in, and then they'll call us and we'll come out and put them in. Sure.
Yeah, that's excellent.
We've seen a lot of different things, even stuff that we don't sell, but we install it. Sure.
Yeah. Lauren wants to know what the process is like for having an epoxy floor coating added, and wants to know how long it would take. You talked a little bit about that earlier. Maybe you can expand on the actual process that's going to happen during those days.
Well, we have a 1-day process, which would be the polyaspartic, or we have the epoxy, which is a 2 to 3 day process, depending on the temperature. But basically, we'll come in with a concrete grinding machine and a shot blast machine, and grind the concrete down. Actually, remove the top layer of the concrete.
Okay.
It opens up the pores of the concrete and really just scores it up and gives it a good bonding surface. Once we've done that, we'll vacuum it up. If there's any cracks or pitting, we fill those, and then we'll do 3 coats on top of that. With the epoxy, we'll do 1 coat. If it's a hot day, 70 degrees or hotter, we can wait 2 to 3 hours and come back and do the 2nd coat, and then we'll do the 3rd coat the following day. If it's a polyaspartic, we do a coat, we wait a half hour to an hour, do another coat, half hour to an hour, do the final coat. So that's the 1-day process.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about an epoxy floor in 2 to 3 days, what's going to happen with all the stuff in my garage, my car, my tools? I mean, where does all that stuff go?
That's a good question. In the past, when we were first getting started, we would rent a pod if someone wanted a pod, or sometimes just cover things up with a tarp. But now we actually offer storage trailers, our own personal trailers, and we'll park them there at their house, sometimes a day or 2 in advance, and they can load everything in it. Or we have a full service option where we'll load everything in it.
Wow. Sometimes
the customer will like to take it a week in advance, and they'll put everything in it, paint their garage, and do all that, and then we come in and do the floor. So it's just another option.
Yeah, that's a great option. When we're talking about floor covering, is there any way that somebody would ever want to go a DIY route, or are you always going to need a professional for this kind of job?
Everyone's seen the kits at the big box stores, the do-it-yourself flooring kits, and I joke around saying that those keep us in business because they just don't last. And once someone puts them down and they start coming up and they're tracking it in the house, then they call us and we have to grind it off and start over fresh. But no, the really good coatings are high solids coatings. 100% solids coating is what we put down, and it's very hard to work with. You have to have the proper tools. You can't mix it and put it in a paint pan and dip it and roll it on. So it's all about the prep, the type of coating you're putting down, and then the thickness of the coating. For instance, on a 2-car garage, we may be putting down 12 gallons, and that do-it-yourself kit is a 2-gallon kit, and they say that covers a 2-car garage. So,
wow.
So right there, you know that you're getting a very thin coating. The prep is not the same.
I can't even imagine how many footprints would be left behind, or I'd be covered in speckling if I tried to do that myself. Warren is asking if there's a time of year that would be best for adding a floor covering. Is that something you can do during the winter time?
You can do it anytime. The polyaspartics are good down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and the epoxies are 40 degrees Fahrenheit is what they're recommended for as the lowest temperature, and that's concrete temperature. So there hasn't been a time where we haven't been able to put the polyaspartic down, even if it's 0 degrees outside. The concrete temperature, if it's an attached garage, is usually 30 to 40 degrees, somewhere above freezing usually. Yeah. So that's with the when it gets really cold, we'll always recommend the polyaspartic.
Sure.
Or if it's a detached garage that we know is very cold, then we're going to have to do the polyaspartic. Yeah, because the epoxy just won't set up.
Very good. Marcy wants to know what cost she's looking at to upgrade to an automatic garage door. This is another, just like we talked earlier, where it's going to be a bit subjective, but maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it can. If your door, if it's a normal door and you just need an opener, you're looking at about $300 to $375, depending on what type of opener you pick, and that's installed. If it's a garage door, if you need a whole new door and it's a 2-car door, you could be looking at anywhere from $800 to $1,500, depending on what options you get with the door, whether you get windows or decorative hardware or things like that.
Yeah, there's all different kinds now, even talking about wood doors or those that open like a gate. So there's a lot of options to consider, and it can get pretty pricey depending on how crazy you want to get with it. That's actually going to do it for all of our listener questions for this week. As always, a big thank you to all of our listeners. If you got a question for us, you can find Angie's List on Twitter, Facebook, and of course you can visit our online forum at answers.angieslist.com. You can ask your question there. We've got other homeowners and service providers on the forum answering questions, and you may even get your question picked to appear right here on this show. So check it out at answers.angieslist.com. Well, Fritz, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. We've really enjoyed talking with you and hearing your expertise about garage.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. We're actually not done with the show just yet. When we come back, we're going to talk with Angie's List auto columnist Tom Moore to talk about what goes inside the garage, your car. Keep it right here. You're listening to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List.
More than 2 million members use the power of Angie's List to find and hire great local service providers. Whether you need a plumber or a pet sitter, Angie's List has you covered. See ratings and reviews in hundreds of categories, shop popular offers, and request scheduling assistance directly online. Memberships start at just $9.99 per year. That's less than $1 a month. Join now and get 40% off with promo code WIBC40. Visit angieslist.com today.